comprised of 4 foursomes and 8 singles, with 4 balls not introduced until 1963. In the first 22 editions, when it was just Brits and Irish against the US, America only lost 3. So in 1979, in came the rest of Europe, including the future 5-time Ryder Cup winner, Seve Ballesteros. Since Team Europe was established, the head-to-head reads Europe 13, USA 9. Home advantage is a big deal. Europe's last away win was the miracle at Medina in 2012, and America hasn't won on European soil since '93 at the Belfry. It's accepted that both teams tailor their home courses to suit their own players. For example, in Paris in 2018, Thomas Bjorn asked for the rough to be kept extra long beyond the green to target the big booming American drives. 10 years earlier, Paul Azinger did the opposite, and the Valhalla rough was trimmed right down. On both occasions, the home side were resounding winners. So what about the money? The most recent Ryder Cup in Rome drew in a record 271,000 spectators and boosted the Italian economy by €262 million. In the US, the PGA America TV deal with NBC is worth $440 million. But no Ryder Cup revenue has ever gone directly to individual players. That's until now. In 2025, for the first time ever, the US team will each receive a fee for playing in New York. Of course, in Rome, legend has it Patrick Cantley refused to wear his cap because he wasn't being paid to wear it, though he insisted it simply didn't fit. Either way, Team Europe have made it clear they're more than happy to keep playing for the sheer thrill, joy and prestige of the Ryder Cup.
Wow, hang on, Barry. I'm completely thrown. This message says from Max after the chaos of yesterday's show, I'm hoping Barry will bring the professionalism we crave. I believe in you, Barry. Minister Paul says, afternoon, Max and Barry. After yesterday's debacle in How Tall Are They? I'm glad there'll be no VAR chat. Have a good show, gentlemen. But this isn't the music. How? And I know this is very much a Saturday morning thing, Barry, but I don't know if it's thrown you. Are you okay?
I am okay, Max. I missed your opening salvo because my headphones weren't plugged in properly. So I've no idea what you really said. I don't know what's wrong, but I'm sorry. Is it my fault?
What's beautiful, it's not your fault. What's great is the bit you missed was a text saying, after the chaos of yesterday, I'm hoping Barry will bring the professionalism we crave. Clearly not. Now, what I said, Barry, is this isn't the music that the show begins with. How can we be expected... Oh, hang on a second, here we go.
Here's some ska.
See, they've faded it up differently. Blimey. I mean, it's the constants in life you need, isn't it? So welcome, everybody. This is the world's biggest sports radio station. It's talkSPORT. Max Rushden, Barry Glendenning with you until 2 this afternoon. And the biggest sporting news of the week, Barry, is you have nailed your colours to the mast and you are going to run a half marathon in 6 months' time. And it's my fault, and I'm very excited and slightly nervous that you may no longer be with us after mile 7. How are you, Barry?
I'm very well, yeah. I mean, some time ago, Max, well, the story is quite simple. A friend of mine, Gavin, a friend of the show, actually, his son, Joe, used to count things for us.
Oh, yeah, good.
Before we realised we were breaking many different labour laws by getting a 15-year-old in to count things, just random, and make lists.
But what a feature, hey?
Yeah, those were the days, Max. But anyway, Joe, no adverse effects. He's a grown man now. He lives over in Northern Ireland, doing well for himself. But his father, Gavin, my friend, ran the London Landmarks half marathon in April. Mm-hmm. And on our Guardian podcast, Gavin had set up a WhatsApp group, a kind of a support group into which I was involuntarily dragged. Yeah. And I thought Gavin was perhaps making a bit too much of a big deal out of the fact that he was running a half marathon. Mm-hmm. You know, because he made it sound like he was going into outer space or climbing Mount Everest without any ropes. Or crampons or whatever it is you use to climb Mount Everest. But anyway, he did it, sub 2 hour half marathon. And as friends tend to do to each other, the next day I belittled him publicly, saying, it's half marathon, how hard can it be? It's no big deal. Mm-hmm. At which point you obviously felt compelled to goad me into running a half marathon.
Yes.
And then
for Great Ormond Street, so that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, then the bloke who works for Great Ormond Street Children's Charity got in touch, and so the long and the short of it is I have to run the London Landmarks half marathon in April. It's almost exactly 6 months away. And I was humming and hawing about it. I started training, then I stopped, then I started again, then I stopped. So I decided yesterday to set up a Just Giving page to, as you say, nail my colours to the mast. Unbelievably, various people, most of whom I don't know, have already donated £1,000. I've set a target of £13,100, which is £1,000 a mile. And so now I have to do it. I have to do it because failure is not an option.
David says, with the best will in the world, no chance Barry is doing a half marathon. That's the kind of positive reinforcement we're getting from the talkSPORT audience at this stage.
I can understand why the talkSPORT audience might think that. I'm told Sam Matterface is running a half marathon as we speak.
Apparently he's running it today, and he's got to be done by 2 because that's when his show starts.
Right.
So, you know,
well, it depends when it starts, doesn't it? You know, if his half marathon starts at 1 o'clock, that might be tricky.
We said we're busy. We're not staying on.
I have somewhere to be at half 2, I'm afraid, Sam. So if you are listening, get a move on.
But if people want to donate, what do they do, Barry?
I suppose just go to Barry Glendenning, Just Giving, and you'll see the details there. I mean, when I get to the start line of this marathon, there's no ifs now. It's when, Max.
When,
barring accident or injury. And
high performance Baz.
Yeah, when a high performance Baz gets to the start line, I'll be 53 years old, Max.
Right.
I'm very overweight. I'm very unfit. So I'm not going to do anything so grand as describe this as a journey. No. But there is ultimately a destination.
There is.
And I will have to run a lot to get to that destination.
What's the longest?
And I hate running.
Yeah, what's the longest you've run in the last, 20 years?
10K.
Okay, that's better than I
thought.
But
I would say that could be more than 20 years. That could be.
So go to Barry Glendenning, Just Giving. We'll keep you posted on that. Anyway, lots of WSL happening today. Let's get updates on the midday kickoffs. Matt Jones is at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, first ever women's game there for Everton, Manchester United. Hey, Matt.
But Everton have not made a great start. They've had Manchester United have had 3 shots from inside the Everton penalty area. First, Nelson, who couldn't convert with a header that went over the bar. Turland picked out as well, and she missed the target. And then the best of the lot, I thought, Rolfer curled wide from inside the area after she was found by Turland as well. Everton haven't really got out of their own half yet and haven't given their fans much to cheer about. Everton 0, Manchester United 0.
Dave Rowe is at Villa Park for Villa Leicester. Dave.
Good morning, Max. Yes, Aston Villa 0, Leicester 0. Two sides who aren't entirely free scoring, but Villa have had the better of things so far and really should be in front. 2 good moves. First of all, Ebony Salmon going close in the second minute. Daly combining with Salmon, give and go with Grant, and Salmon firing just wide. Then moments later, long ball over the top and Grant beat the offside, but her effort was saved one-on-one by Leipzig in the Leicester goal. Aston Villa 0, Leicester 0.
Now let's go to the Copper Jacks Community Stadium. London City Lionesses against West Ham. Ian Abrahams.
10 minutes gone. London City Lionesses 0, West Ham 0, and most of the attacking has been done by the home side here. Balls fizz across the box that neither Aslani nor Goodwin can get on the end of. West Ham at the moment just defending and keeping their shape. It's London City Lionesses 0, West Ham 0.
Reaction already, Barry. Patrick says, Baz, I'll give you $3,500, 3,200 just not to do it. I can't have you dying and leaving Max just at the helm, it says. David says, I feel bad now. Go on, Barry. Matt says, is Baz is just giving Page to raise funds for his medical treatment after the event. Martin says, I note Barry hasn't specified he's running the half marathon. Is he planning on using a jetpack? Jill says, I just spilt my coffee out. I just spat my coffee out. Did I hear Barry doing a marathon? Please confirm.
Half
Love
marathon.
The show. A half marathon.
I couldn't even begin, because I've heard you describe doing a marathon, and
so bad.
You just make it sound so horrendous. And people describe, as the greatest thing they've ever done, and you just said, nah, it's really unpleasant.
No, just hard. Anyway, look, I'm with you every step of the way, Barry.
Oh,
except
thank you, Max.
In the running bit. Okay, look, it's Max and Barry on the warm-up, brought to you with Travis Perkins, doing what matters for the trade. Find out more at travisperkins.co.uk or download the app. As I said just before the news, it's our annual attempt to have a serious conversation. We listened with interest what Gary Neville said about the flag, what other people reacted to it, including our very own Simon Jordan. So we're going to play out a bit of them, and we're going to have a serious conversation about it in just a second. Good afternoon. You're listening to the warm-up on talkSPORT. Max Rushden, Barry Glendenning with us and with you until 2. We're definitely with us until 2, but hopefully some of you will stick along with us. And look, Barry, we wanted to talk about flags, didn't we? And Gary Neville's video talking about angry white middle-aged men and people flying the St George's Cross or the Union Jack, whether they're doing it out of love for their country or hate and division. And we wanted to talk about the reaction to that, including Simon Jordan's on the station this week, and very aware that it is a culture war and it isn't easy to change anyone's minds on these subjects, but hopefully want to have a compassionate, sensitive and thought-provoking discussion.
Yeah, I don't expect to change anyone's mind. People have their own ideas about this on both sides. But I think hopefully we can just give an interesting point of view. So I'd urge people, because I know people are going to disagree, but with what we have to say, because a lot of them think we're a pair of wishy-washy liberals, and they're probably right, to be honest.
They might be right. Yes.
But yeah, just have a listen.
Yes, which is the main aim of a radio show, I guess. So look, we are very happy to hear your thoughts, whatever they are. You know this show, we won't just read out praise or agreement. In fact, we're more likely to do the opposite. Let's begin with what Gary Neville said. Here it is.
I just kept thinking as I was driving home last night that we're all being turned on each other, and the division that's being created is absolutely disgusting. Mainly created by angry, middle-aged white men who know exactly what they're doing. Funnily enough, on one of my development sites last week, there was a Union Jack flag put up, and I took it down instantly. And some people might be watching this and thinking, well, Gary, you're not very patriotic. I played for my country 85 times. I love my country. I love Manchester and I love England. But I've been building in this city for 15, 20 years, and there's no one put a Union Jack flag up in the last 15 to 20 years, so why do you need to put one up now? Because quite clearly it's sending a message to everybody that there is something you don't like. The Union Jack flag being used in a negative fashion is not right. And I'm a proud supporter of England, of Great Britain, of our country, and we're championing it anywhere in the world as being one of the greatest places to live. But I think we need to check ourselves. We need to check ourselves and sort of start to think about bring ourselves back to a neutral point, because we're being pulled right and left, and we don't need to be pulled right and left at all.
So that was Gary Neville speaking in the wake of the horrific Islamic extremist attack on the synagogue, which cost 2 people's lives in Manchester. Kemi Badenoch, leader of the Tories, called his comments disgraceful. Nigel Farage, leader of Reform, called Neville detached from reality, said he was amazed Neville had kept his job as a pundit with Sky Sports, which I guess is odd for someone who believes in free speech so much. On the other side of it, Barney Ronnie writing in The Guardian saying, I'm proud of Neville for speaking up. It's good that a sports person is addressing this, an actual issue in his hometown, doing so with genuine feeling, unafraid of the violent reaction that will follow. This is his parish. While it's easy to say stick to sport, the reality is this has everything to do with sport, a place that has been aggressively flag-draped and militarised. Following what Gary Neville said, this is what Simon Jordan said on Jim and Simon show earlier this week.
The real issue is about radical Islamist extremism, and he doesn't have the balls to call it out for what it is, rather than suggest that people that are challenging our country about what's happening, he's insulated from these things. He lives in a very rarefied world where his money and privilege has enabled him to live behind a gated environment, not have to worry about NHS appointments, not have to worry about people being attacked in the streets by immigrants that shouldn't be here in the first place. He doesn't have to worry about these things, and so he has the ability to be able to sit there and observe in such a way that insulates himself from it. And I think it's an appalling stance to have taken. He's entitled to his view. He's entitled to a view. We are quite happy to wave every other flag in this country, whether it's Palestinian flags, Ukraine flags, or any other flag that we feel that we're able to wave. But when you're talking about people in this country that have legitimate concerns and want to have a legitimate value set, and push back against what they're having forced upon them. For Gary Neville to say what he's just said is the exact embodiment of what I said, which is a champagne socialist, which is insulated from the real world, and a coward, because the real issue is about some of the extremism that's going on in this country.
At this precise time in which we are living, do you think certain football fans will think twice about waving a flag?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you listen to ghastly ex-Labour MPs like Emily Thornberry, anyone that waves the flag St George's is a thug and a Luddite. You know, it depends who you want to listen to. I think you should be proud of your country. I think you should be proud of your country's flag. It only seems to be this country that seems to think that because there were a few people, a minority of people that want to adopt it and utilise it for the potentially the wrong reasons, that somehow it represents. It's like suggesting that every single time you have an issue with something in this country, you push back against the narrative of undocumented young males coming across into our country, you're a racist. There's nothing racist about that. It's having a concern and being able to voice it, and the politicians and people of influence in this country are not and have not been listening.
Right, so that was Simon Jordan on Jim and Simon show earlier this week. We can talk to Zoe Gardner, who is an independent researcher, campaigner, commentator on immigration, asylum policy. Hey Zoe, how are you?
Hi there, thanks for having me. I'm well, thanks.
Thanks so much. You came on with me and Charlie when Gary Lineker was told not to present Match of the Day that evening, and you gave us a lot of sort of facts and put everything into context, and it was very useful, and I'd love you to do the same. First of all, I guess, what did you make of what Gary Neville said, and what did you make of the reaction, including Simon?
Well, I think overall, Gary was really brave to put his head above the parapet. We all know that he was going to get this kind of hysterical backlash, because anybody involved in football is supposed to not express an opinion that diverges from this stereotypical idea of a football fan as some kind of racist thug, right? And we all know that that actually doesn't represent fans at all. There are a tiny minority of people in the country who are like that, but essentially fans have all sorts of different views, including ones that are very welcoming towards foreigners. And essentially what Gary was saying was, you know, we have a problem with division in this country. We're being driven against each other. And I do think that it's quite insane to argue against that at the current time, or to say that that's a disgraceful thing to say, when he was standing up against division, standing up against hatred, standing up against us being pulled apart from one another. I do think the one area where maybe what he said was a little ill-judged is he talked about sort of white middle-aged men. And I think what he should have done was really named the people he was talking about, because it's not all white middle-aged men, as we all know. He was talking about the people who know what they're doing, who are sowing this division. Now, to me, I took that as meaning he's talking about your Nigel Farage, your Lee Anderson, your Richard Tice, your Robert Jenrick, your Chris Philp. You know, these are rich white middle-aged men who are going about and deliberately promoting hatred towards migrants and asylum seekers at the moment. I don't think he was really talking about, you know, the majority of white men in this country. I think he was actually speaking up for a lot of the white men in this country who are worried about the division that they're seeing.
Interesting. One text says, nice balanced guests, one from each side. Oh no, just someone with the same view as you two. It's interesting that text comes in, because the YouTube clip that I saw of Jim and Simon show is felt there was no alternate view to this, and I'm aware that this may be quite a one-sided discussion, but we wanted to have this side of it because I haven't heard it on this station yet. Barry?
Yeah, I think that's what angered me. I listen to Simon a lot. I agree with much of what he has to say. I disagree with a lot of what he has to say. Normally it's about subjects that aren't that important. And he's absolutely entitled to his view on what Neville said. But what annoyed me a bit was that it went almost totally unchallenged. And that slightly got my wick, because he referred to Neville as a coward, called his stance appalling, when, as Zoe says, Neville was preaching a message of anti-division, pro-unity, anti-hate, pro-love. He even used the word love. And I don't know how you can arrive at that conclusion that's a selfish opinion, or a stupid opinion, or an appalling opinion, or a cowardly opinion. And Neville specifically referred to angry white men, middle-aged white men who know what they're doing. So if you're not one of those people, he's not talking about you. We know who he's talking about.
Well, that's exactly it, isn't it? Because when Simon Jordan was saying, you know, he recognizes, oh, there's a minority of people who, when they're flying the flag, they're doing it for bad purposes. But when he talks about asylum seekers, when he talks about Muslims, when he talks about immigrants, he doesn't give the same grace. That's a generalized position. They're bad. They're essentially a threat as a whole. We don't get to say, you know, there are individuals within those groups, as within any groups, who maybe are not good actors in society. No. They get generalized about. And meanwhile, he's able to see that nuance. He's perfectly capable of doing it when he can say, yeah, there are some people who are flying the flag in order to intimidate foreigners or for racist reasons. And I think Gary Neville also communicated that. He said, you know, flying the flag because you're proud of your country, because you love your country, because you're watching the football. Great. Awesome. I do that. The problem is, and we all know where the line is if you're flying the flag in order to tell brown people you don't want them in your country, that is not okay. That's not cool. That's not a good use of the flag. And those of us who love the flag and who love our country should be pushing back against its use in that way.
How do you push back in that way? Because people want to, people like, you know, want to go to an England game. I've painted my face with the St George's Cross, and I'd be less likely to do it now because people have co-opted the flag for nefarious purposes, in my opinion, which is what Gary Neville was saying, which is what Simon Jordan would disagree with.
Yeah, well, I mean, what Gary Neville's saying is he's doing is specifically that, right? You see this being used in a way that disgusts you. You see the division, you see the racist attacks that we're seeing on our streets, the rise in a politics that is defined by hatred of a small minority group in our country. And you use the voice you have to speak up. And we all have a voice in a different way, but someone like Neville, you know, like, you got to give him respect. Like, he is using his incredible power to push back against something that he's seeing that is really harmful and toxic and dangerous that is growing in our country. And I think a lot of people feel like that. So you raise your voice how you can. And if it's happening in your community, if it's happening in your football club, if it's happening down the pub when you're watching the match, then you talk about it, and you can do so much good by addressing those issues within your community and talking about, you know, how we need to push back against a narrative that just says this group of people are a threat and are bad and are, you know, the problem. And actually talk about, like, what are our real problems? It's probably about the degradation of our local community. It's probably about the fact that, you know, the properties of the high street have like all, you know, falling into disrepair. It's probably about the fact that property owners with like vast wealth have bought up all of the rental properties, and you know, rents are sky high and you can barely afford your bills. Those are your real problems. It's not asylum seekers.
Stay with us, Zoe, because people have genuine fears about all the things that you said, and I want to get into that in detail. Obviously, the text board is massively, it's so split, as you'd expect. Lefty idiots, so naive and ignorant. Stop virtual signalling, you idiots. Switched off. Simon was bag on. This one says, here's the lefty agenda crap. David said, thank goodness for Gary Neville standing up and saying what the silent, rational, caring person think. I couldn't agree more. The Union flag crossing St George is currently being used in a divisive way. It makes me sick. I'm not expecting this to chime with the wider audience. No doubt I'll be labelled as in the woke lefty brigade, but I'm a 39-year-old white man. Thank you for bringing up a balanced view, guys. David in Jarrow. Before we break, this being a goal at Everton, is it, Matt Jones?
There has. Everton 1, Manchester United 0. Very much against the run of play, with United missing all those early chances, but Everton got forward. They put a ball into the box. Fallon Tulis-Joyce, the Manchester United goalkeeper, got a palm on it because she could only push it out as far as Honoka Hayashi, who converted with a really good first-time finish, half volley into the roof of the net, and Everton have lift-off here at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Everton 1, Manchester United 0.
You're listening to Warm Up on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. For the latest big trade deals, head to travisperkins.co.uk or download the app. Reading your messages, and we'll get into more detail with Zoe Gardner in just a second. Good afternoon. You're listening to the warm-up on talkSPORT. Max Rushden and Barry Glendenning with you until 2. We are talking about Gary Neville and what he said about flying the flag and people using the flag to sow division in this country, and the reaction to that. With us is Zoe Gardner, independent researcher, campaigner and commentator on immigration and asylum policy. Some people... we've had a lot of reaction.
Could I just address, Max?
Yeah.
The listener who told me I should mind my own business because I'm Irish. I mean, I'm an immigrant. I came to Ireland or to England 26 years ago. I had a bag on my back. That was it. I didn't come in a dinghy. I came in an airplane. I didn't have a job. I was hoping to get some opportunities. I did. I now, live in London. I love London. I drink in a South London backstreet pub that's full of Irish, English, Jamaicans, Algerians, Eritreans, people of every stripe and shade and religion. And we all get along famously, remarkably enough. There's the odd argument over the pool table, whose turn it is next. But apart from that, everyone gets on fine. So I'm not saying we should all be happy-clappy and love each other, but it can be done.
Yeah, I obviously agree with you. Speaking as an immigrant as well myself right now, people say, you're in Australia, you're not allowed an opinion, which seems odd that you can't have an opinion on anything that is happening beyond the realm of where you happen to be at any one time. But Zoe, look, people do, and a lot of our listeners do have genuine fears of people arriving on small boats, okay? And there are some anecdotal examples of, the guy who... filmed himself arriving on a boat, right? And then got asylum from Afghanistan and then went on holiday in Afghanistan. Another man who was found guilty of making a threat to kill Nigel Farage in a TikTok video, right? He also filmed himself coming in. And actually, I've said this on talkSPORT before and got pelters for it, but there's a lot of, almost like a totalizer of the number of people arriving on small boats. And I've said, look, my first thought is compassion, right? If someone is 18 or 19, I think about myself as 18 or 19 going, I've got to risk my life to get what is my life to the fact that I'm going to risk it to get here. But when you hear stories like that, you can understand some people saying, well, hang on, that doesn't sound, if you're filming it on TikTok, it doesn't sound that terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that it's difficult to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's behaving like that, right? But I'll just say, if you have obtained protection as a refugee on the basis that it's dangerous to go back to your country and then you go back on holiday, that is legally going to undermine your claim to be in the UK, right? So
right, okay.
That situation is already provided for under the law. If somebody does that, then they're going to be jeopardizing their right to remain here. So there's a lot of I think often we get very het up about there's an example of somebody who's done something wrong, and it's we have the legal structures to respond to that. These things have all happened before. We've all thought these things through before. None of these things are the first time, but it's very easy to sort of point at these people and say, well, there we go, there's an example. And the reality is that asylum seekers come from all different kinds of backgrounds and they're all different kinds of people. And the overwhelming truth about them is that they are people who have lost everything, who are trying to rebuild something and who are in a system that is really incredibly poorly managed. And that produces very poor outcomes for asylum seekers and refugees themselves. It also produces poor outcomes for our society. So when people are concerned about this and they see these stories and they think that that's a reason to hate those people, I understand where you're coming from, because the system is obviously not working well. The difference is that when a government-run system is not working well, your target of anger should be the government. It's been a failure of the government to manage this adequately, realistically, and humanely. It's not acceptable to then go outside a hotel, for example, where other people who you associate by ethnicity with that person and scream racist murder at them. And then, there's stories of, kids in these hotels who are hearing people chanting, get them out, outside their windows. These kids have escaped from really dangerous places. Even that guy who was capable of going back to Afghanistan, you don't want to switch places with somebody who has left their home, and their home was in Afghanistan that's been taken over by the Taliban, and they're here destitute with nothing. And how much would you give up before you would take, would you give up your home, your job, your family in order to get this hotel room? Like, these people are not lucky. These people are not being spoiled. They're not being treated nicely. These people have nothing. And as a group, you know, they can bring so much to our country, and they're people who need our help. And this pointing out of like one individual here and one individual there that we can like target our hatred on, it's just meant to rile you up. And I think you need to like just get your knickers out of a twist and take a deep breath and maybe think about this more broadly and ask yourself whether going out and like planting some, you know, Union Jacks on a mosque is really a reasonable reaction to that kind of information.
The statistics on immigration are because people say that these are all just men coming here. What are the actual statistics?
So that's not the case. I mean, immigration as a whole is it has that cursed statistic. I think it's about 52% women and 48% men, and that is actually reflected also in the refugee asylum process. Because while about 2/3 of people who come on the boats are men, that's because it's extremely dangerous. And so very often, you know, you'll send the man to take on that risk on behalf of a family. But also there is, well, there was until the government just got rid of it, the possibility of family reunification, which means that, you know, overwhelmingly women and children being able to come through safe routes to the UK. Now, the government's just scrapped that, and that's in reaction to this hatred, right? So that now the women and children who had a safe way of getting here will now have only the option of those boats. So this kind of reaction of hatred is actually making it harder for women and children to reach us safely. So that's an irony. And I think that there's also something in the story about the male immigrant as a threat, right, that is very potent and that worries people a lot. And if you have been concerned, I mean, there are stories, right? There are individual cases of asylum seekers who have committed sexual assault, and I would never for a moment want to undermine the seriousness and the horror of those instances. But there has been a concerted effort, like over 100 of the country's prominent women's rights organizations, so the organizations like Rape Crisis England and Wales, like Refuge, like the End Violence Against Women Coalition, right? All of these big organizations where people have dedicated their careers to helping women and girls who have been assaulted and violated, they have written a letter to the government begging them to push back against this scapegoating of immigrants for sexual violence, because they point out that literally 90% of sexual assault is perpetrated by somebody known to the victim, right? So the vast majority of sexual assault happens within communities and within households. 1 in 3 rapes happens to a person within their own house. 1 in 2 women who are raped by their current or ex-partner, right? So if we want to address violence against women, and I know that there'll be a lot of listeners, you know, men who are concerned about the stories they've heard about asylum seekers, and they're really concerned about helping women and girls be protected from rape, the best thing you can do is to talk to the people in your community, talk to the men and especially the young lads in your community, talk to them about maybe, you know, be another influence in their life that is more positive and that talks about respecting women's rights, because they'll be hearing all sorts of stuff online, you know, from the likes of Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, right? And they're getting fed a diet of misogyny. And that is actually what is making women and girls unsafe in our society, right? That is overwhelmingly where women and girls are assaulted and raped, is by the men in their communities. So if you want to help, and the women in your community will be so grateful to you to do this, talk to especially the young lads about respecting women, about what boundaries are, about why it's important to have mutual respect in relationships, and why a narrative of dominance is not actually the only way to be a man. Like, be a real man is about respecting women, the women in your life. And that will make a much bigger difference, I promise you, than going and shouting racist chants outside an asylum hotel.
Mark says, Max, why do you seem reluctant to mention that your dad changed your surname because he didn't want me to have to put up with anti-Semitism. It's a very, I'm not reluctant to say it at all. I'll say it. They changed my name when I was 6. I'm not Jewish because it's through your mother's family, but half my family are. And of course, you know, I can see that anti-Semitism is growing hugely in this country, as Islamophobia is. And I think, like Barry said at the start, it's, you know, what Gary Neville was doing was preaching a message of unity and love, which is what I think we all want. How, Zoe, finally, can we... And I know that, look, we have had genuinely, and I don't just say this for saying its sake, we had so many messages, positive and negative, and we haven't had a chance to read them all out. But how Zoe, what is the best thing that people can do who are proud of this country and who want to fly the flag and who want to fly the flag at football matches, but don't want to, but you know, want unity to exist? Like, what is the best thing you can do?
Well, I think at the moment, and it's interesting, like all the messages you've said, and you guys have done this several times, and said, oh, we're going to get so much pushback. We're in a position now about talking about like compassion and treating people like humans and being open to a fair immigration system. We're expecting to be like, have a hysterical backlash against us. And all of the people messaging in are saying that as well, right? So we're in a situation now where like, yeah, so like Reform have got like 30% in the polls, and that's higher than, you know, they've ever had before. And it's quite significant, but 30%, you know, what's on the other side of that is 70% of us. Like, have the confidence to know that actually, if you want a well-managed immigration system where people are treated humanely and where we give people safe ways to reach the country so they don't come in this chaotic way, and we know who's arriving, and that can be achieved, right? These numbers are like 30,000 people, right? It's not a lot of people, right? If you think of like Selhurst Park, that's the number of people throughout the entire country, right, who are accommodated in asylum hotels, right? You spread the people in Selhurst Park around the entirety of the UK. It's not a lot of people. We can manage it better. If that's what you want, then you have to push back against the narrative that is being fed to us that that's not where the country's at all, right? That we all want this clampdown, that we all you know, that for some reason that this majority mainstream view where we just want this managed well. And in fact, we actually want the real issues in the country, like the economy and the NHS, given more prominence. That's the majority view. Speak up for it. Make it clear to your MP, call into the media, write, you know, text into shows like this, and make it clear that the silenced majority in this country are not reflected by this bigotry. And then wave your flag very confidently, knowing that you're not doing it out of racism. But if you are one of those people who's waving a flag because you don't like Muslims, then think about maybe the fact that back in the 1900s, UK experienced a huge wave of arrivals of Jewish refugees who were fleeing from pogroms in Eastern Europe. And the exact same narratives about those Jewish refugees was being told back then, and the exact same racism happened. They were saying they'll never integrate, they don't speak English, they're filthy, they murdered children. That was the narratives that were told about the Jewish refugees who came here then. And most of us, I think, and I hope, would believe now that those people, their children, their grandchildren, they are fundamentally part of British society and they are totally integrated. And that will happen with this wave too. So try to consider the fact that you are being pushed into a knee-jerk position and that the problems in your society are not caused by, you know, Selhurst Park of asylum seekers who are homeless people who are looking for a new future here. Try to like just take a breath, untwist your knickers, and yeah, like I say, if you're not motivated by racism, then absolutely fly that flag with pride, because we need to be speaking up for, you know, we're the majority. We want something better for this country, and we should be fighting for it at this stage. We're in a dangerous place, and we should be fighting for it.
Thank you, Zoe. Thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Zoe Gardner there, independent researcher, campaigner, commentator on immigration and asylum policy. I'll just read 2 messages. One says, keep up the brilliant work. Max and Barra love sport, often feel deeply uncomfortable listening to the same stance over and over from some of your peers. 34-year-old white man here, wishing you the very best in a world that sometimes feels completely hoodwinked to view small boats as the enemy. High time we took a closer look at those in super yachts, not the desperate cases of those clinging to dinghies. Here's hoping you change at least one mind today. Very best, JJ. BC, never thought I'd see the day that talkSPORT would join the government-led narrative bought and paid for by the MSN. So look, we weren't going to change everyone's mind. We maybe changed nobody's, and you may hate us more than you ever had before, but it was a conversation we want to have, and I'm really pleased we did it, and we'll be back in a second. Good afternoon. You're listening to the Warm Up on talkSPORT. Max and Barry here until 2. Thanks so much for all your messages. The ones that liked it and ones that didn't, appreciate it. Obviously, we don't have time to read every single one. Anyway, look, half-time in the WSL. Let's go to Matt Jones. Is it Everton, Manchester United? And it's Everton 1, Manchester United 0 here, despite all the dominance of Manchester United, who've had 8 shots to Everton's 2. But that goal from Hayashi is changing the game at the moment. United have missed 5 chances to that point, but a loose ball fell to her in the box. She got a toe on it and prodded it into the top corner. Other than that, Fallon Toulis-Joyce hasn't had much to do, bar tipping a corner that was perhaps heading into the top corner over the bar. At the other end, there's been some great stuff from Emily Ramsey in the Everton goal, who has denied the likes of Toon and Rolfer so far as well. So Everton in the ascendancy. It's Everton 1, Manchester United 0 at the break. Cheers, Matt. Let's go to Dave Rose watching Aston Villa Leicester at Villa Park.
Aston Villa 0, Leicester 0, but they've only scored 4 goals so far this season. You can see exactly why they really should be ahead here, and Ebony Salmon in particular could have had a hat-trick. She found no chance wide before Leipzig saved from Grant, then 2 massive chances for Salmon, so clear throw on goal, first of all by Maltby, only to shoot straight at Leipzig, and then later Daly with the through ball, Salmon away again, and Leipzig saving again. Not too much for Leicester in front of goal. O'Brien and Van Egmond combined to win a corner which Thibaut headed over the bar. They've also been a couple of decent crosses from the left-hand side by Hannah Kane, but really the main story so far is Villa's inability in front of goal. At the break, Aston Villa 0, Leicester 0.
Let's go to the Moose, who's watching London City Lionesses against West Ham. Hey, Ian.
Hi, similar story here. London City Lionesses 0, West Ham 0. Both sides rather have chances. Best chance for West Ham, that was a save from 25 yards out, right-footed effort just wide of the London City goal. And at the other end, Nikita Paris, again from similar sort of distance, 20-25 yards out, just wide of Semek's goal for West Ham. This game needs a goal though. Sun's come out for the second half, hopefully a big goal fest. London City 0, West Ham 0.
Thanks, Moose. Right, let's look at the latest odds of today's action with William Hill.
In the Zone on talkSPORT. Brought to you by Final One Standing. New from William Hill. 18 plus gambleaware.org. Terms and conditions apply.
Lee Phelps joins us. You okay, Lee?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. How's Final One standing? Look, obviously a week off for everybody, but I was chatting yesterday to Sam, your colleague, saying, now it's tough. If you're still in and you've basically picked all the good teams, you're going to struggle next week, right?
Yeah, it's a tough week as well, isn't it? There's no one really obvious there. You start looking down the list and it's just like, who are you going to pick? Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one to see where people go for. We've got this £200,000 game, which is brand new for the start of the restart of the Premier League as well. 3 p.m. on Saturday. Got to have your picks in. So if you've been knocked out of that big one, or you've been knocked out the others, if you're playing in the others as well, you can join this one on top and start afresh. So you don't have to worry too much. You can go straight in with the big guns. But yeah, picks in by 3 o'clock on Saturday. £200,000 that one.
Okay, today then Scotland, Belarus, and very nice colleague Ewan Murray, Scottish football correspondent for The Guardian, was saying this will be an easy win for Scotland. And when he said it, both me and Barry were like, I'm not sure everyone's ever said that about Scotland ever, but do you see it that way?
Yeah. 1-8 Scotland are 8-1 on. Belarus 16-1, and the draw's 11-2. Belarus have lost the last 4, 6-0, 2-0 to Scotland, 5-1 to Greece, who Scotland just beat 3-1, and 4-1 before that as well. So Scotland are going really well. I think if they don't lose this one, I think they'll win it, actually. That's the first time they've gone unbeaten for the first 4 games in a World Cup qualifying group since 2001. So Scotland are about as good as they've been for a while here. Joint on 7 points with the table toppers in Group C, Denmark, who are top on goal difference. And they play each other at Hampden on November the 18th, which will be the last game in this qualification group. So please keep winning, Scotland, and keep the pressure on Denmark. And we've got an absolute cracker to finish off with. Yeah, I think Scotland win. Shea Adams to score, Scotland to win 2-0, 2-1 or 3-1 is been pushed out to 7-1. And the toast of Serie A, Scott McTominay, to have 3 or more shots on target is 4-1 as well. Scotland to win and 4 or more goals in the game is priced up at 6-4. I think they get it done, Scotland, today, and well.
I don't know, Lee. If I was a Scotland fan, I'd have a very bad feeling about this one. I just really would.
Surely.
It has banana skin. It just screams banana skin. But hopefully they will swat them aside as they should. Littler v Humphreys in the darts tonight, Lee?
Yeah, it should be a cracker, shouldn't it? It's been a brilliant tournament. Littler's the favourite here, 8-15. Humphreys 6-4. You get the sense that Humphreys maybe just the kind of the fame of Littler is maybe just influencing that a little bit. On the head-to-heads, Littler has got the edge, but when you look at major finals, Humphreys still has the edge there. You've got a £5 free bet on the darts if you place a fiver on the final. The Luke Littler match treble. That's really popular. Punters love it. That's for Littler to win, highest checkout, and most 180s has been pushed out to 9-4. But you look at Humphreys, like he's a big price for that bet, 11-1. I was looking at the 9-darter as well because you seem to be getting more and more 9-darters in these big tournament, especially televised ones. Obviously, Littler's, we've seen him do it already this year. For him to have a 9-darter, it's 25-1 For Luke Humphries, who admittedly hasn't done it as many times as Littler, it's 100 to 1 for him to have a 9-darter in this final. And by the way, Humphries, when you look at the stats, and there's not much in it in this tournament, but Humphries has, you look at his checkouts, marginally better. You look at his double percentages, marginally better. You look at his 180s, marginally better as well than Littler. So I think it's going to go all the way. If you like kind of your bets on overs on the sets, then I'd be looking at that. I think over 9.5 sets is 6-5. But yeah, it should be an absolute cracker. We've got loads of racing this afternoon as well as usual. Each way extra and best odds guaranteed with price boost on that. We've got the NFL later as well. So if you're looking for an acca on your NFL, you can place one at William Hill and get a free one to use as well. So yeah, plenty going on. Should be a cracking afternoon.
And look, just give us a name for the next Rangers manager now, Steve.
Yeah.
Dropped out.
Well, obviously, we closed the book on Steven Gerrard. It went about 1 to 10, and that was it. Suspended. Everyone thought he was going to get the job, and obviously, whatever's happened there. Denny Roll, former Wednesday boss, is 4 to 7 favourite now. Hasn't got much managerial experience, and as we've seen, going straight into to Rangers is a tough one. He's got some coaching experience. Kevin Muscat, who won the treble with Rangers back in 2002, 2003, 13 to 2. He was reportedly close to getting it when Philippe Clement was given the job, and he's been doing well in Japan and China since winning silverware. And you got Gary O'Neill 7 to 1, Graham Potter 7 to 1, Derek McInnes, the current Hearts boss. And they're top of the William Hill Scottish Premiership, of course. He's 9 to 1. It'd be to jump from Hearts, who are top of the table, to Rangers would seem a strange decision. But yeah, the betting says Danny Roll. I still quite like the idea of Kevin Muscat.
Yeah, not bad. Cheers, Lee. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
That was Latest Odds, brought to you by Final One Standing. New from William Hill. Terms and conditions apply. 18+. Gambleaware.org.
In the Zone on talkSPORT. Brought to you by Final One Standing. New from William Hill. 18+. Gambleaware.org. Terms and conditions apply.
Warm up on talkSPORT. Our England correspondent Faker Others joins us in just a second.
More green jackets have been lost at the 12th than at the Augusta City Dry Cleaners. Rory McIlroy knows this better than most. But what is Amen Corner and why is it so iconic? The famous sequence has always been there since the Masters began in 1934. It didn't get its name until '58 though, when American sports writer Herbert Warren Wind, on the left, wrote, "At the farthest reach of the Augusta National Course, down in the Amen Corner." He drew inspiration from the 1933 jazz song Shouting in That Amen Corner by the Dorsey Brothers. The reason behind its difficulty is all in the sand and the water. Tournament officials don't even bother to count the balls lost in there each year, such is the sheer number. The 11th, named White Dogwood, is a downhill 520-yard par 4 with a pond to the left of the green and a bunker to the right. Both cause a lot of trouble each year. The 12th, Golden Bell, is perhaps the most famous hole in the world, with danger everywhere. Many aim for the flag, but look, get it even slightly wrong, and you're in the azaleas at the back, or the bunkers at the front, or even worse, Rays Creek. Or you can play it safe and aim for the open green on the left. You chicken. Tiger Woods once said, if you make 4 bogeys from Thursday to Sunday, you're doing well. And the highest ever score on that hole? 13. It's a par 3. Tom Weiskopf in 1980 was the sorry soul. Often the iconic Ben Hogan Bridge is the only thing players enjoy about Golden Bell. Even if you escape there unscathed though, you met with Azalea, the dogleg par 5 13th. It tempts players to go for the green in 2, but cut over those trees on the left at your peril. Every year, it seems, Amen Corner destroys someone's dreams. Rory McIlroy dropped 3 shots through here as his round unravelled in 2011. In 2016, a year after navigating Amen Corner expertly, Jordan Spieth shot a quadruple bogey on the 12th to throw away his green jacket. I mean, it sounds like my game, to be honest. So who'll be the next to be brought to their knees, praying for mercy after Amen Corner?
Played back and a right-footed effort comes in. Perfect start for England. They're ahead inside 2.5 minutes. Rodgers takes the responsibility and he's played across the face of goal for Watkins, who cannot miss. Saka turning it onto his left foot. Oh, it's a beautiful goal. And it's another win for England against Wales. Same story. The feeling remains that England are certainly moving in the right direction. They've beaten Wales tonight by 3-0.
So, job done, and next job comes up in 5 days.
This is a good start. Very vigorous, energetic, high-tempo stuff from England in these early stages.
I get England are going to win the World Cup, Barry. And
I'll tell you who isn't going to win the World Cup, Max, and that's the Republic of Ireland.
Oh, heartbreak yesterday.
Yeah, that was a tough one to take.
I bet it was. Let's talk to our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers. Hey, Faye.
Morning, you two, or afternoon, sorry, should I say.
Yes, good afternoon. First of all, Jack Wilshere to Luton. How do you feel about that?
Well, let's see whether it gets over the line or not. There's a few mixed feelings about it on the messaging board, but could be a shrewd appointment, really, when you think young manager, first opportunity to be a number one permanently. He's taken his time, had a couple of opportunities in the past, but, you know, he's been very clear on his ambition going forward, and I feel a little bit clearer that we need a little bit of a reset, but he needs to get the best out of the players. Ultimately, it's the players that have to go on and do the business. And, you know, we're still only 3 points outside of the playoffs. There's no need to panic. I just think that people start to look at where we came from in terms of the Premier League, successive relegations, and people do start to wonder where we're going. And I haven't been entirely clear on the direction necessarily this season, but, you know, League One is really competitive. And, maybe give him a chance.
You don't sound massively convinced, I have to say, Faye, but Am I right in thinking Luton were sort of red-hot favourites to win League One and go straight back up?
Yeah, but you'd expect that, Barry. We narrowly were relegated, albeit hadn't had a brilliant season, but Matt Bloomfield had steadied the ship and we'd had a really good run towards the end, and it was a complete capitulation in that last game against West Brom that ultimately got us relegated, because it was in our hands to stay up, and ultimately we threw it away, which was really disappointing. However, we're used to rebuilding. This has happened before. We've had 3 successive relegations in the past. I really hope that doesn't happen again. But, I personally, didn't think Matt Bloomfield was doing a bad job. And I'm not really on board with sacking managers when you're only just outside of the relegation places, but that's what the board chose to do. Maybe there was something else going on behind the scenes that they weren't happy about, and so they decided to make the change. And if Jack Wilshere is their number one preferred target, then for now we have to just trust that they're making the right decision, and we'll see come the end of the season.
Latvia away for England. England are interesting to talk about, which isn't always the case, Faye. Sometimes I think you have a very difficult job when you have to another chat about slowly breaking down a low block and scoring twice in the second half. But, it's interesting because of the players that are there, interesting because of the players that aren't there. And I'm just sort of, I'm not giddy yet. You know how I get, but there's a lot to be positive about.
Yeah, I feel it. Definitely. I like the fact, and I know some people weren't very happy about it, but there were lots of caveats within it. But I was actually pleased that Thomas Tuchel decided to back the players that had done so well for him in the September camp, because otherwise what kind of message are you giving out? It doesn't matter how well you play for England. If other players who've been there and done it before then come back in, then you're out. And so it doesn't really give any incentive to the players who previously we thought were maybe on the fringes, but clearly not on the fringes now. He wants the competition for places. He's sending out a lot of messages via the media, even if he says they're not strategic messages. Even just at the end of the friendly against Wales on Thursday, Bukayo Saka scored an absolute stunning goal, played brilliantly, great to see him back. Only the second time he's played under Thomas Tuchel because of the injuries that he's had, and yet still Thomas Tuchel said in the end that he wants more from him, and that he could have potentially and should have scored more goals in his England career. He's got 13 to date in 45 appearances, so he wants the players to absolutely maximise their potential, and he's willing to create this competition for them all to be fighting for their places, so that by the time we get round to the World Cup, when we qualify, I think it is more when we qualify rather than if we qualify at the moment, then it is really going to be competitive, and the best team are going to be going out there.
Faye, often the discussion around England is about players who aren't in the squad rather than players who are. As someone who spends a lot of time in the England environment, if you were Jude Bellingham, would you be genuinely concerned that you might not be picked for the World Cup?
No, I don't think so. Jude absolutely backs himself and backs his quality, and England, Thomas Tuchel, the other players all know what an incredible player he is. I think we have to start to question things if he's not recalled for the November camp. I can understand why he wasn't brought in for the October camp. He's not played that much for Real Madrid. He's had that shoulder surgery. He hasn't completed a full 90 minutes, only made the one start and completed 70. So, I think in some ways, Thomas Tuchel was fortunate in a way that was the case, and also perhaps fortunate that Noni Madueke was injured, so he could bring back Bukayo Saka, because he did allude to the fact that he might not have brought Bukayo Saka back in. He knows what those players can deliver. He's creating a team spirit, and people have to fight for their places to get in. And I think what he's trying to make sure is that even the star players, the Harry Kanes, the Jude Bellinghams, etc., will also have to fight for their places. And I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. Do I think that Jude is not going to go to the World Cup? If he's fit, he's absolutely going to go to the World Cup. I'm convinced of it, because he is the type of player, and Thomas Tuchel said this before, he said you can make special cases for special players, and Jude Bellingham is a special player that I can't see him not going.
There are mutterings based in very little evidence I can see that Bellingham might perhaps be a pernicious influence in the squad, as he's some sort of raving egomaniac. As I say, I've seen no evidence to back this. Have you?
No, I haven't. And I've interviewed him on a number of occasions now, and I've seen him in and around the camp. I mean, obviously, he's talking to me. It's separate. You know, it's I'm part of the media. He's not going to want to put across a bad image to the media. But
call me Mr. Tough or something like that.
Well, yeah, exactly. But genuinely, he's always been a real joy to speak to. And, you know, I remember talking to you guys after the World Cup in Qatar, after that defeat to France in the quarterfinals. He didn't have to come and speak to me afterwards. He didn't have to. We'd interviewed all the England players. They'd just been knocked out of the tournament, and, you know, in a really cruel way in terms of Harry Kane missing that penalty. But Jude, as a young player, decided to come and talk to me. And he was so convinced that this squad and this group of players were going to go on and win a major tournament soon. He's desperate for it, and he's desperate to be involved in it. Has he got a little bit of arrogance and edge? Of course he does, but I always think that the best players have to have that to go and do something special. Do I think he's rude or a disruptive influence in the camp? Not from what I've seen, but obviously I don't see anything that goes on behind the scenes. But I do speak to a lot of the players, and I have spoken to Harry Kane on a number of occasions about Jude Bellingham and about his conduct and about how perhaps he needs a little bit of guidance at times, because as a young man he does let his emotions spill over, and Harry has always spoken really highly about him. Now, if you are unsure about a player's influence in a dressing room, it's very difficult to fake then supporting them when you speak to the media, I think.
Oh, we didn't have to speak to you, and we did, which shows we have that edge about us as well.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that edge.
I was led to believe I was contractually obliged to speak to Faye.
Not Faye again. We'll enjoy the game on Tuesday, Faye. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks. See you later.
Faye Carruthers, our England correspondent. Let's get an update from the games in the WSL. Matt Jones watching Everton Manchester United at Hill Dickinson Stadium.
57 minutes gone. It's still Everton 1, Manchester United 0. Everton have shut up shop at the back so effectively that United were forced into a change 5 minutes into this second half. Jess Park coming on to replace Elizabeth Turland. As of yet, United haven't really forced the openings that they were in the opening 45 minutes, and they'll be disappointed with that. But as an aside, 18,154 here today for the first ever women's game at Hill Dickinson Stadium, which is a really impressive attendance, and those home fans enjoying it so far. Everton 1, Manchester United 0.
To Villa Park, Villa, Leicester, Dave Rowe.
Aston Villa 0, Leicester 0. We weren't expecting a goal feast here. Villa have scored 4 and 4 so far this season. Leicester 3 and 5. That's the way it's turned out. Leicester has certainly tightened up after the break. They were repeatedly caught out by balls over the top in the first half. They've been much tighter in the second, as shown by some good control by Salmon for Aston Villa, but quickly Sari Keys in there to block out. Also a good play between Mailing and Vilms for the home side. Cross throw straight at keeper Leitzig. Leicester not offering too much again going forward, although we have seen a shot blocked by Tierney after a ball through by Hannah Kane. Still Aston Villa 0, Leicester 0.
Ian Abrahams watching London City Lionesses West Ham. Hey, Moose.
Hey, it's still London City 0, West Ham 0, and very much as the first half, it's a very even contest. You get the feeling one goal might well be enough to win this game. Neither goalkeeper has been forced into a save during the second half, which is just as well, actually, because the PA announcer, Charlotte, bought me a delicious brownie to devour during the opening stages of the second period, so it was a good job I didn't have to make too many notes. It's London City 0, West Ham 0.
Devoured. I can imagine Moose. You should put that on your OnlyFans, Moose. Moose devours brownies. You are listening to talkSPORT with Travis Perkins doing what matters for the trade. Find out more at travisperkins.co.uk or download the app. We'll do some NFL, play the footballer game in just a second.
throws the ball to the end zone. Cortland goes up, makes the catch. Touchdown, Denver.
Fires one deep right side for Garrett Wilson. He's got it inside the right pylon.
Wings one, end zone. Caught. Devontae Adams. Touchdown, LA.
This is going to be Brian Thomas Jr. to the 5. Brian Thomas Jr. into the end zone.
Caught. Touchdown.
Are you kidding me with that catch?
Justin Jefferson. Give to Judkins. Pushing. Touchdown. Quinshon Judkins.
Special for everybody to get to come to the United Kingdom and see hopefully a very competitive football game.
NFL on talkSPORT 2 at 2 o'clock. We'll cross to Will Gavin in just a second. Before that, Matt Jones at the Hill Dickinson has a goal to report.
And it has been coming. Everton 1, Manchester United 1. United have just been building up a little bit of a head of steam in the last 10 minutes or so, and they've got the equaliser through Melvine Mallard, her 5th of the season in the league. She's played through one-on-one with Ramsey. Ramsey saves the initial shot, but she can only push it back out into the path of Mallard, who then goes around her and tucks into an empty net. Everton 1, Manchester United 1.
OK, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Denver Broncos versus the New York Jets. It'll be on talkSPORT 2 live and exclusive at 2 o'clock this afternoon. There'll be a watch-along on the talkSPORT USA YouTube channel as well. And Will Gavin will be in charge of all of it. Hey, Will, how are you?
Afternoon, gents. Yeah, very well. Slightly chillier at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this week than last, but the stand's starting to fill up. And, well, I mean, this week we have the only winless team left in the NFL in town in the New York Jets.
I like a rubbish team.
So, you know, this is real potential for a rubbish team. But being around them this week, getting the vibes from them, like, there is still a really strong feeling that they're going to get up for this for their new head coach. And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of London luck will come their way as they face off with the Broncos.
Well, there's a bit of talk at the moment and controversy about football matches, as in soccer football matches, being played abroad. We've got a La Liga game going to the States, I think, and a Serie A game going to Australia. Do American football fans get upset when their teams play over here or in Ireland or wherever?
You know, it's interesting. Early doors, like if you go back to 2007 when the games first came here, there was a lot of kind of stirred up controversy about it. There was a lot of people trying to make out like there were big issues with bringing the games over here. But as a rule, they're mostly embraced, which I was almost slightly surprised about when you consider that you've got that huge Bible Belt in America where at 9:30 on a Sunday morning you should be nowhere but in church. And yet a lot of their teams are out here playing football at a 9:30 a.m. Eastern time kickoff, and yet still you don't really hear a huge amount of controversy about it. I think the NFL is such a juggernaut at this point in North America. Like, the TV money, they do in a year what the Premier League does in 3 years. It is absolutely crazy just how much of a economical, of a just media-dominating juggernaut the NFL is. And so I kind of feel like there's been an acceptance from the fans that it's happening and they're just going to have to like it or lump it. And you add on top of that, they've added an extra game to the schedule. So it used to be that it was a 16-game schedule. Now it's 17 games. And so on a rotation every other year, you get an extra home game. And so if you're giving up that game as a season ticket holder, technically you're not losing anything. At least that's how the NFL are trying to justify it.
That's interesting because I thought, God, you don't get many home games. To lose one is annoying. But I should say, I saw a clip of you commentating, I think, my team, the Browns, and I don't follow them as religiously as I did in 1992, were almost won, and then the Vikings got a late touchdown. Your commentary on it was absolutely brilliant, Will. It's not a question, it's just some praise. I thought you just brought that whole atmosphere and that whole, because we just heard in that teaser, Americans do that so well. And so it's it's sort of hard, but hearing it in an English accent, it didn't make me think, this sounds ridiculous. I thought you did a wonderful job.
Yeah, we do get a lot of people in the comments going, oh, soccer commentary on the NFL, that sounds good. But it's nice how well it has been received, and the Americans have absolutely loved it. Whether it's a novelty thing or whether I'm in line for a job in the long run, we'll have to wait and see, Max. Maybe it'd be me and you in Australia, me out in America, doing some overnight radio, the way it should be.
You could be the next John Madden. It'd be exciting, couldn't it, Will? Anyway, you're here to play the footballer game. Let's hope it's not 3 American foot. That's going to be tougher, isn't it? Eric Metcalf. You're like, OK, I'm struggling with this one. But it's you versus me versus Barry versus Perry Groves. Welcome, Perry.
Hello, Max. How are you?
I'm good. Are you going to be... So Sam Matterface is doing a half marathon. If he hasn't finished, are you the host? Is this what's happening?
If I'm the host, then you know you're banging trouble by that. What you said there, I can't get that image of Moose doing OnlyFans out of my head. That's completely discombobulating me, honestly. And
ruined.
You're not going to change your rules halfway through this quiz, are we, like you did yesterday? You're not going to change it.
Listen, Perry, there was a message from Ali McCoy saying it's the closest he's ever got to changing stations. Such was his fury at the controversy and how tall are they.
I feel his
there
pain.
There may be a rematch if you and Danny Kelly are both around next Saturday. What's on your show today, please, before we play the football game?
Well, we're just going to go through, obviously, the England game on Thursday. Thomas Tuchel's comments after the game as well, which is a bit strange. And we'll go through the Jude Bellingham situation, being left out of the squad. So we've got reports from the WSL games today. We'll have our features are back. So we've got Stataface, we've got the Stranger Things and Smiles.
Well, I look forward to it, and I won't miss a minute. Let's play the footballer game. Anil is our host for today, debuting in the hardest quiz chair in show business. Anil, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, happy Sunday, Max. I am certainly feeling the pressure, so I hope I can keep the flag flying high like Reece normally does on this show. So, yeah, no pressure indeed.
Out of 10, how are you feeling?
I'm going to go with a nice 8.5 today. I'm feeling good.
Okay, right. It feels like a bit too much enthusiasm.
I think after I'll tone it down a bit.
Yeah, we can only go with what we've got. Here we go. Let's go with player one.
Right, so player one started his career in 2007 to 2009, where he played at Genk. He made 10 appearances with just the 1 goal. From 2009 to 2011, he played at Standard Liège, where he made 18 appearances and scored 3 goals. From 2009 to 2010, he had a loan move at Kortrijk, and then moving on to 2010 to 2011, another loan deal at Mechelen, where after that, 2011 to 2012...
Eden Hazard?
No. After 2011 to 2012, he was at Genk, where he made 37 appearances with 19 goals, and then in 2012 to 2015, he made his Premier League move to Aston Villa, where he scored 42 goals in 89 appearances.
Tielemans?
No, it's not. Moving forward after that, from 2016 to 2000...
Christian Benteke.
It is Christian Benteke.
Yes! Come on.
See, that's how much it means. Will pretends that he's not bothered, but you are, Will, wouldn't you? You are bothered.
Well, the last time we played this, it was a Reading defender, and I didn't get them as a Reading fan. So, honestly, I feel absolute redemption, and I can just shut up now.
That's a tough one. A Reading defender. I just couldn't name one if you asked me. Anyway, let's go.
Yeah,
here we go.
exactly.
Player two.
Right, player 2. From 2002 to 2010, he played at Bordeaux, where he scored 56 goals in 230 appearances. From 2010 to 2013, he was at Perry's team Arsenal, where he scored 8 goals in 40 appearances. He then went...
Segan?
No. He then...
Gilles Gramondi?
Nope.
Lacazette?
Nope. He then went on for a loan move to West Ham, where he had 3 appearances but no goals. From 2013 to 2016, he made 60 appearances and scored 7 goals for Crystal Palace. From there, he went to...
Shamak.
It is Shamak. Correct.
Thank you so much.
Very good.
Thank you. Okay, Max 1, Will 1, Perry 0, Barry. Have you made a noise, Barry?
Yeah, I thought I knew who the last one was, but I didn't. I was wrong.
I could hear him scribbling, to be fair.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name, and it would have been the wrong name.
It's always an issue. Let's go with player 3.
Right, player 3. From 1998 to 2000, he was at Lahara B, where after that he went from 1999, from 2003 to Lahara, the first team. From 2003 to 2005, he joined Batisia. Apologies for my pronunciation there. But let's get more interesting. From 2005 to 2006, he made 38 appearances and scored 2 goals for Wigan Athletic. From 2006 to 2008, he moved to Tottenham, where he scored...
Wilson Palacios?
No, where he scored 3 goals in...
Pascal Chimponda?
It is Chimponda, correct. Very good. That is impressive.
Thanks, Anil.
No
Good
problem
stuff.
at all. Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
No, pleasure.
Cheers, Anil.
Thank you, Perry. Enjoy your show.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, Will. Have
remember
fun.
a single Wigan player there. Not just the Wigan player in question. I could not remember anyone who has ever played for Wigan.
Hey, let's go to the boost. There's been a goal.
London City 1, West Ham 0, and Aslani is the girl who got the goal at 68 minutes. But this is a real howler from Semek in the West Ham goal. She had the ball at her feet, didn't notice that Aslani was lurking just to the side and slightly behind her eye line, and around came the forward to nick it off her boots and literally tap it into an empty net. Game needed a goal. It's got a bizarre one. London City 1, West Ham 0.
Akash says, surely Moose should do a patisserie-based subscription video, only flans. That would be good. I'd watch that. Dave says, are Barry's headphones and mic switched on? Professionalism personified. They seem it to me, but, who knows? And it doesn't matter. Hey, Jim Bowen will join us in just a second to do some Premier League chat. But let's go to Matt Jones first. Been a goal at Everton.
Yeah, Manchester United have completely turned this on its head. Everton 1, Manchester United 2. A free kick into the Everton penalty area, which caused a little bit of chaos. Mallard was there trying to get on the end of it, but she didn't need to, because instead Everton put into their own net through Hikaru Kitagawa. She tried to clear it, got it all wrong. It spun off her ankle and into the back of the net. Everton 1, Manchester United 2.
To Villa Park, Dave Rowe.
Still Aston Villa 0, Leicester 0, 16 to go here. I think one goal will win it. Villa have been the more likely, though it's not been too convincing the second half from them. Best moment recently, Grant laying it square for Missy Kearns, 25 yards out, her shot wide of the right-hand post. Leicester, some neat approach play involving O'Brien and Kane. The cross was whipped in and turned out for a corner kick, and D'Angelo in the Villa goal has had to deal with a couple of long high balls in, and she's dealt with them pretty well too. It's still Villa 0, Leicester 0.
It is the warm-up on talkSPORT in association with Travis Perkins. Go to travisperkins.co.uk or download the app. Yeah, John Brewin will join us in just a second. We'll talk about Gerrard saying no to Rangers, possibly Sean Dyche going to Nottingham Forest, and a couple of other things too. Good afternoon. The warm-up on talkSPORT. Max and Barry with you until 2. Sam Manterface takes over if he's finished his half marathon. Let's get team news from the WSL. The Emirates, Arsenal taking on Brighton. Angelina Kelly.
After remaining winless in their last 4 games, Arsenal are desperate for 3 points this weekend. Meanwhile, Brighton will also be hoping to get back to winning ways after 2 losses in a row. The last time they faced the Gunners, they won 4-2, so they'll definitely take some inspiration from that result. Arsenal make 3 changes from the side that lost 2-1 to Lyon on Tuesday night as Katie McKay comes in at left-back for Taylor Hines. Wingers Chloe Kelly and Beth Mead drop to the bench with £1 million signing Olivia Smith and Caitlin Ford starting in their places. For Brighton, they make 4 changes from their 1-0 loss to Tottenham last weekend as former Chelsea and Lionesses star Fran Kirby returns to the starting 11. Melis Mapome, who signed for them in the summer from Chelsea, gets her first WSL start, and 2 expected changes are that Michelle Adjiman and Rosa Kafaji are not available. Their Arsenal loanees, therefore, are ineligible to play against their parent club. Kick-off is at 2:30. It's Arsenal versus Brighton.
Thanks, Angelina. Let's talk to top football writer, it says here, John Bruin. A promotion for you, John. How are you?
Well, very happy I'm now a top football writer, yes.
Yeah. Not just an also-ran anymore.
Well.
Where should we start, John? I mean, Gerrard saying no to Rangers is fascinating, isn't it? Because I just think there are some times where you just go, oh, well, that's happened. And it kind of shows that we don't know everything / anything.
I'm not completely surprised. I think by the sounds of it, Steven Gerrard has decided he's not against returning to Rangers, just not now. And you can sort of see why, because Rangers appears to be in a terrible mess. There's new owners there, and Rangers fans were full of optimism that things could change. And then came the appointment of Russell Martin, which, it has to be said, is one of modern football's greatest disasters as a manager. That it went wrong from the very, very start. Though it appears these days that managers being given time now, that's old hat, isn't it? I mean, we will talk maybe about the situation at Forest, but managers just don't get any time whatsoever. Like nothing like a first season to bed in. Russell Martin was, and it did go badly. The performances in Champions League qualifying and particularly in the domestic league have been really, really bad. So Gerrard has looked at it and looked at the squad that has been brought in by Russell Martin and the directors of football there, and thought he doesn't want to look at it. He doesn't want to go there now. And I mean, just the candidates that are floated. Derek McInnes is one that I've seen, who's manager of Hearts, which I think kills 2 birds with 1 stone. In he's Hearts manager, and they're doing really well. So you take out them. Let's see what Tony Bloom, who is obviously the minority shareholder at Hearts, says about that. But desperate times for Rangers. They seem to have just rolled through the manager since Gerrard, don't they? It's and he's remembered so well. Do you remember that footage of him driving into Ibrox when Rangers won the league from inside his car? He had some sort of dash cam going, and he's playing some horrific house music. I wouldn't turn the sound down if you're ever watching this footage. But Stephen is driving through thousands upon thousands of fans celebrating Rangers winning the league, and this happened during lockdown, so they're locked out of the stadium. But they're able to, so Gerrard is hailed as this conquering hero, and he'll always be remembered for that. And I imagine Steven Gerrard is someone who is aware of his own legacy at Liverpool and at Rangers, and probably thought now is not the right time. But look, let's not rule it out forever. I think this season's going to be difficult for Rangers, whatever happens.
John, you drew the obvious parallels there between Russell Martin and Ange Postecoglou at Forest.
Yes.
And they're both very single-minded men with their own preferred way of doing things. Neither was a popular appointment. Neither manager, Martin's reign is over. Ange's has started badly. I don't think Forest have been terrible under him, but I think Sunderland were quite lucky to beat them. I think they played well against Betis. But can you see the Ange chapter being as brief as the Martin chapter?
Yes, quite frankly, we can always Mr. Marinakis, Mr. President, as we must call him, at Forest and Olympiakos, is a man who makes decisions and thinks about them later quite a lot of the time. This Postecoglou thing, it was ill-starred from the start. Football fans don't like their club being a place of another team's cast-off. It's not... And the performances of Tottenham last year in the Premier League were so poor compared to that of Nottingham Forest. And he's such a poor fit for the team in the way that he wants to play and demands that his teams play, which is completely opposite to Nuno. Nuno is such a popular guy still in Nottingham. I wouldn't... I mean, Nuno is now at West Ham, but I can still see some sort of rapprochement, some sort of reunion in a couple of years.
But they're saying Dyche, John. They're saying Dyche. I mean, I think give Ange a bit more. Come on, guys. But they are saying Dyche. And, you do need Dyche in the Premier League to answer all those questions. Who would eat a bear first? Which Premier League manager, would cover themselves in grease or something? It's always Dyche. And if he's not there, you really struggle for the answer.
In the years that I've contributed to this show, we've talked about Sean Dyche more than anybody else, and I'm not quite sure why that is. It's just such a does the Premier League just need a club for Sean Dyche? Now, Sean Dyche is, of course, a Nottingham Forest former trainee. He's a protege, you might say, of Brian Clough. I think he's possibly one, apart from Nigel, possibly one of the last of that Clough breed still, active. Working or looking to work in football. But you will have to say that a Dyche team is not the Clough team, is it, of neat passing football?
But John, isn't Woney Dyche's number 2 and Steve Stone number 3? Aren't they? They're Clough proteges as well.
They are. So it would be the return of, Clough's final fledglings, you would say, and that may hold some romanticism for certain Forest fans, but I think one of the good things that Marinakis has done is making Forest not forget the Clough era, but move on from the Clough era, because they spent so long in the lower divisions fighting back and thinking back to previous glories, and the last few years in which they've played in European football, had the Nuno era, had the promotion back to the Premier League. That's been a new Forest. And then to go back to Sean Dyche, who was so unpopular among Everton fans for the style of play. They were thankful that he kept him in the Premier League in fairly straitened circumstances, but they did not bemoan his exit at all, did they? Sean Dyche, we know what Sean Dyche does. He's the new Allardyce, in a sense. He's the new...
He eats bears. He eats the bears.
He eats bears. He drinks pints of wine. He does all that stuff. Yeah.
But he is he is slightly underrated manager, I think. Now look, Crystal Palace chairman Steve Parish was on the Sunday edition earlier with Sean Custer's Henry Winter, talking about the future of Oliver Glasner.
I think Oliver's a brilliant guy. I think he's a sensational manager, and his opinion is extremely important to the football club, and what he thinks is something that we take very seriously. Certainly I take very seriously. And, will we look back on things and adapt what we do? Absolutely, in future. Yeah, we've had some early conversations. I mean, look, we would love to keep Oliver. We're building something. I think for Oliver, it's about the conditions being right. It's about everything being in a way that he enjoys his work, and he finds the conditions favourable to achieve. Oliver wants to win things, he makes no secret of that. That's what he's in football for. He's in football for those days where we give all that pleasure to the fans, and we do as well. So, if we can align those interests, then hopefully we can make something happen.
I mean, that's sort of what he has to say, I guess, John. We all know the pecking order of football. He's a brilliant manager. They will do well to keep him for a long time, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And there have been a couple of... I mean, I think what Steve Parish referred to is there's been a couple of ripples, haven't there, where Glasner wasn't happy that the transfer business was done late in the window. Maybe... I think Eze left with everyone's blessing, but, was saying, wants the money to be invested in the team. Obviously, and I don't think Glasner would blame Palace for this, but there was this whole, crisis over being in the Conference League, over the Europa League, over multi-club ownership. It's not been an easy time, and at the same time, Glasner has produced that unbeaten run for Palace, which was, a brilliant stuff from them, considering the players that they'd lost, or the player they'd lost in Eze. But he's at that point, isn't he, Glasner, where he could probably write his own cheque for clubs around Europe that are looking to change. I've often thought that Bayern Munich, should they decide that Vincent Kompany isn't the man, would like him to be the manager. He's had success in Germany with Eintracht. He won the Europa League with Eintracht. There's this... I think it's quite a spurious link that because he's able to play 3-4-3, Manchester United would like to bolt him over the Ruben Amorim team, and suddenly all will be well. Well, I mean, that would just be the latest attempt to, put lipstick on a pig. As good a manager as Glasner is, and I do think he's a great manager, he's a very even-tempered guy in press conferences when he deals with us in the press. He's also, clearly a great motivator of his players. Like, he is, him and Andoni Iraola are probably like the two highest-rated managers that you think they're going to get picked off by the elite at some point. But Steve Parish is entitled to want to keep the manager. It's whether he can. But I would suggest that there might need to be a succession plan to see if they can find the next Glasner, because I don't think he'll be around too long. But I would like, in a few years, wouldn't it be nice actually if Iraola and Glasner were still at those clubs and they were both
in
doing
10
well?
years.
It'd be excellent,
great.
wouldn't it?
And also, we know the answer, which Premier League manager would put lipstick on a pig. But we don't need to answer that right now. Thanks, John. Appreciate your time. John Bruin there.
Cheers,
Let's go back to Matt Jones at the Hill Dickinson. Couple of goals for us.
The Have and Man United have well and truly put this game to bed now, because it's Everton 1, Manchester United 4. Jess Part, the substitute, has got both of them. First, she was released by Toon, drove forward and hit a shot towards the far corner. It took a deflection off Stenovic that wrong-footed Ramsey in goal and went into the back of the net. And she's just scored another one from just outside the box. Given too much space, she picks her spot, curls it into the bottom corner from 20 yards. Man United are going to be getting the 3 points today. It's Everton 1, Manchester United 4.
All right, guess the attendance with Justin Morehouse is next. after breakfast on talkSPORT, Gaza, Paul Gascoigne. I didn't need to say Paul Gascoigne, did I? Gaza is in with Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown live in the studio to discuss his new book. What a footballer that guy was. Let's play Guess the Attendance. Today, top journalist Barry Glendenning takes on top comedian Justin Morehouse. Welcome, Justin.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Yeah, jolly. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Feel a little bit exposed. I'm out and about.
Where are you?
Okay, are you dressed?
Yeah, I'm dressed. I'm dressed. Yeah.
Good to hear it. Now we've got the full times coming up in the WSL, so let's just get a rattle on, guys. A quick game's a good game here. We begin at Six Fields, Northampton Town 1, Rotherham 2. Jimmy Benson, with 3 minutes left, scored the winner. Paul Tierney, wow, the hirsute Paul Tierney sullying himself with League One, refereed the game. Perhaps that bolstered the crowd, but how many were there? Justin?
5,000. I have no idea. Right off it.
I also have no idea. I'm going to say 5,001.
6,548. It's 1 point to Barry Glendenning. You can take a
Barry's
2-goal lead
isn't
here.
he?
He's on a good run, yeah.
I think I lost last week, didn't I?
Okay, he's not on that good a run.
I won 2 weeks ago. I was the first one I won in about a year.
We believe in you, Barry. Edward Duckworth, son of Vera, refereed Leyton Orient 4, Doncaster 0. A hat-trick for D. Ballard. But how many were there at Brisbane Road to watch Leyton Orient hammer Donny 4-0? Barry?
I think Leyton Orient, they get a good crowd. I'm going to say 10,000. I could be way off.
10,000. Justin?
9,999.
8,128. It's one apiece. We leave this game poised. It's full time at Everton. Matt Jones.
3.5 minutes to go.
Hey Dave, are you there?
Yes, it's full time at Villa Park. Aston Villa 0, Leicester 0. Decent point here for Leicester. Villa really had the chances to go and win it, especially in the first half when Salmon missed 3 opportunities, 2 1-on-1 with Leipzig, and Grant also went close. In the second half, the big moment came with 15 minutes to go. 2 of the subs combining. Hansen's cross from the left-hand side and Georgia Mullet free header in the penalty area heading over the crossbar. Leicester, there weren't particularly clear-cut chances. There was one late on actually on the counter with Rantala firing just wide. They've now gone 19 away games in WSL without a victory, but it is a point in Rick Passmore's first game in full-time charge. Final score, Aston Villa 0, Leicester 0.
Here goes my additions for Around the Grounds. Adrian Durham's career is safe. Let's go to the Moose, watching London City Lionesses West Ham full-time.
Finished London City Lionesses 1, West Ham 0, third win then for London City Lionesses, who are well placed to buck the trend of promoted teams going down. But for West Ham, still a season that is totally pointless. Aslani got the winning goal here, not in the view of the goalkeeper, came from behind and to the side, nicked it off her feet, tapped it into an empty net. That and the Brownie, the best said about this trip to Bromley today. London City Lionesses 1, West Ham 0.
Thank you, Moose. Still waiting on full time at Everton, but if I keep saying it, maybe it'll happen. We go back to Guess the Attendance. It's one apiece. It's Justin's guess. Bristol Rovers 0, Milton Keynes Dons 4. Scott Oldham of England refereed the game at the Memorial Stadium. But how many were there to see an absolute hammering by MK Dons at Bristol Rovers? Justin?
18,000.
18,000. Barry?
17,999.
7,996. It's woeful. What sort of guessing is this?
I was going to showboat, but I didn't have the confidence.
I genuinely, right, I'm feeling very awkward. I look like a middle-aged man who's listening to the radio on his phone.
Yeah.
Because no one knows I'm broadcasting.
Right, I see.
And I'm actually at Media City, the home of broadcasting in the north of England. I mean, I could have put like the BBC logo behind me, but I thought that wouldn't have been on form.
It's not the done thing, really, if we're being honest.
I'm feeling very, genuinely, I know that I do this sort of thing for a living, but this is kind of, not only am I doing a game on talkSPORT, I may remind people, for nothing, I'm now doing a live outside broadcast.
Kevin Clancy of Scotland refereed Morton 1, Partick Thistle 1 at Capello Park. A groan from Barry. But how many were there? Barry, for this game in the Scottish Championship? Morton Partick.
Is this
for the
one
win, Barry?
Pardon?
No pressure. For the win.
For the win.
Is this one of those games where it's like 25? No, I'm going to say 999.
1,000.
2,883. It's 2 apiece. This is so exciting. And now we go to Wembley for England 3, Wales 0. What a wonderful performance from Thomas Tuchel's men. It'd be nice if the crowd had made some noise, but that's okay. Urs Schneider of Switzerland refereed the game, but how many were there at Wembley to watch England on the march to winning the World Cup? Justin?
Is that friendly?
Yes.
I don't know. I didn't even watch it. Would it have been...
Dad says, I wish they'd actually guess a figure, not say one number higher or lower. So boring. Give the game some jeopardy. We've been through this, Daz. We've been through this.
65,000.
65,001.
78,126. It is a win for Barry Glendenning. Thank you, Justin.
I'm devoted.
You're okay.
He looks very sad.
You can't turn up. You can't turn up every week and deliver, Justin. And you do.
I know. I felt like I felt like I played with the wrong boots on. I'm never doing this outside again.
No, okay. Same.
That's not the first time I've said that on an awkward.
Cheers, Justin. It's almost full time at Everton. Matt Jones.
It has finally finished on this occasion, Max. It's Everton 1, Manchester United 4 at full time. Man United turning this game on its head and getting the job done in the second half, but they were 1-0 down at the break. Hayashi wonderfully converting from inside the area. She stabbed into the top corner when a loose ball fell her way. Manchester United played plenty of substitutions in the second half, though, and they helped turn the game in their favour. On the hour mark, Mallard got the first. She converted after her initial shot was saved. A few minutes later, Kitagawa put into her own net an own goal when she skewed off her ankle and it spun past Ramsey and into the back of the net. And then the substitute Jess Park made a real difference in the closing minutes. He drove forward and found the bottom corner with a deflected strike and then